Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ankerstar Wealth Market Update. I'm your host, Allison Ankerstar, and today we'll be talking about the weekend market reaction to the Russia-Ukraine war, the impact of soaring oil prices, and the activist activity in Bed Bath & Beyond. But before we begin, as a reminder, this is a financial education presentation, should not be construed as personal financial advice. Full disclaimer information is available at ankerstarwealth.com. Good morning, Steve. The Russia-Ukraine conflict continues to rage on. What has been the market impact so far, and where are the markets going?
Good question, Allison, and good morning, everyone. So certainly, here are the futures. We're in the red, right? So I can see everybody this morning saying, you know what, we had another weekend, another week that's starting out in the red. Well, when you think about it, certainly times like this of high volatility, if you will, a lot of times they're selling going into the weekend because so many things can change over the weekend. And I agree. A lot of people, active traders, make sure they're flat before going into a weekend most of the time, but certainly during periods of high volatility like this, because what can happen over any weekend? We could have a ceasefire and the war's, conflict is over. We could have a nuclear weapon, get loosened on, used in some manner, whether it's tactical or strategic. I mean, really the whole spectrum could happen over weekends. So that's why you see a lot of the money coming off the table over the weekend. And then early Monday morning, you react to the news. Well, when you think of the news of the weekend, really the Ukraine-Russia conflict, we've had some ceasefire talks, some positives there, if you will, some, evacuee routes that are out there being put into place. We've also had some negative, certainly accused atrocities of killing civilians that were along these routes. So who knows what's really true, but certainly that's what's being reported, and that can move the market. But overall, I would say the market's pretty muted this morning, as we wage into really the second full week, almost into week 3 of the conflict over there. But the fact that there's already starting to be some ceasefire talks, I think Putin's strategy is probably, I'm going to go all the way to the Capitol because I can prove I can. So everybody understands that this is what's going to happen if they mess with this. And then either from the Capitol or from right outside the Capitol, they are going to negotiate a ceasefire of, hey, we're keeping those 2 provinces that are hundreds of miles behind us, that were the original kind of target anyway. Or they will go to the Capitol, prove they can retreat, and then just hold those. And I think at that point, we're going to see a ceasefire and the conflict will be over. And, we're going to be talking about this for years, but at least, people will, the shooting part of the conflict will be over, and it can go off into politics and rhetoric and kind of live on that way. But when you really look at the overall, the comparison I've been using is 2014, right? When Russia went in and annexed basically Crimea, and the market really did not do much, just powered higher for 9 straight weeks, right? And again, it was from February to May. Folks have said that's because it's weather. I did look up weather this weekend over to see how hot it gets. Well, it's about the same latitude as a Toronto. So I don't think, I've never really lived in Toronto, or I'm sorry, Edmonton, Canada, not even Toronto, but Edmonton, which I spent some time in. But, not really ridiculously hot, but I have heard that it gets on into the summer there, and that Putin will likely not continue past that point just because it becomes so much harder to effectively fight his campaign. We shall see. That's one data point back from 2014. But overall, when you look at the market reaction, I pull up the 1-year chart here of the S&P 500. So again, this is the, December 31st of 21. And then, it's been kind of straight downhill for 2022. It's been challenging for many, especially for those as an investor. That is, of course, there's challenges across the world with loss of life, but economically challenges here. We have inflation, we have rising gas, oil prices, and then the market basically, if you scroll down here, is off 10% year to date. So 9.5. So really in that market's in correction. We did officially have a correction back in here, late February, after dipping down to almost a correction in January. So really the big move down was in January, and we're basically flatlined in the past month and a half from there, even though it doesn't seem like it. It seems a lot more negative than it is. But always keep the big picture in mind. Really, you're where you were in October of last year, and you were in July. Now, if new money came in here, yes, you're down. I got that. But really, if you back up and zoom out, you where you were at the end of last year. And certainly if you back up the chart at all, you can see that if you're a long-term investor, you've made a ton of money. So not time to freak out. I don't think the conflict is over by any means, but overall, I will say that the market's handling it pretty well, and you should not be scared to invest here.
Next, the conflict had led to soaring oil prices, with gas in the U.S. over $5 in many areas. What's next for oil, and will this drive any changes?
Well, here's the oil chart, and you're right. Yeah, I mean, we were in Houston for the weekend for volleyball, and had to fill up once on the way there, and then once after we got back, and it seemed like the price from Friday to Sunday went up another 50 cents or a dollar, and then a lot of that hits people directly, right? Because most people still have at least one vehicle with that uses gas, and yeah, I mean, it's something you can feel every day, and you really don't have any choice but to fill up your car if that's your means of transportation. So certainly it can hit pretty hard. The 1 month chart here I have of oil, again, it was below 100 and on going into February 25th, and then it shot up. It touched 130 last night. I saw that on a headline. But settled back down to 120 or so. That's still quite a bit, right? What do I think the long-term story for oil is? I think after this is over, and again, I think it's going to be over in weeks, not months. When I say over, being the Ukraine-Russia conflict, once that settles down, I think you'll see oil return to below $100 a share. Now, what I think, or excuse me, $100 a barrel. What I do think will happen, some of the consequences of this, though, will be a renewed interest in clean energy, right? So there, people see this, and it's just another beat on the drum for moving towards, electric vehicles, which those companies have done very well. There's other companies out there. I like Next Era Energy. NEE is the ticker. So if you want to check that out, it offers a couple % dividend. It's been beaten up this year, so I think it's in a position to move higher. So I think we'll see a move up in the clean energy names. If you were going to trade oil, a lot of people go, well, okay, it's clearly going to the moon, so now I want to go in here and take it long. I would say you're better off just kind of waiting for a little bit and trading it to the downside. As it overreacts to the upside, eventually it will come back down. That's probably an easier trade. For investing, I don't deal in commodities at all, so I don't think this is a long-term buy here. But in some, gas prices could continue to go up here for a little bit more, but I think once the conflict winds down, gas prices will reset significantly.
Last, Bed Bath & Beyond has been an activist target for months now, and the stock is up over 100% this morning as another activist investor got involved. Is it time to buy, sell, or hold on BBBY?
You can even see across the breaking news, Bed Bath & Beyond shares more than doubled after the GameStop chair reveals the big stake with this turnaround plan. You don't see a tremendous amount of the activist investor involvement, not like the corporate rating days of the 80s, but you do see some of it, and they'll go in and write a letter, which is what Mr. Cohen did here, Ryan Cohen, if you see down a little bit further in the article. He's currently the GameStop chairman, but activist investors, he has RC Ventures as his activist arm. So he's got a lot of money, bought up 10% of the company, and he wrote a letter and said, here's the changes you need to make. The company's processing that. But certainly from an outsider, professional investor, when you have a big dog in the space, if you will, with Ryan Cohen, which I had honestly not heard of prior to today. It's not somebody I follow. But when you have somebody who's, a sitting CEO and also has his own venture capital firm moving in on something, that attracts a lot of capital. And a lot of people probably have seen this letter, and they're going to hop in and buy basically because Ryan, Mr. Cohen there, said this is a good buy and a good turnaround opportunity. So that's where you see a crazy move up in the stock. I did want to show you that. The other active, I'll show you that here in a second. 4 new members. This is in 2019. There was a trio of activist investors where the board expanded. A lot of times the activist investors will demand board seats. You can kind of watch some TV shows that go through this process a little bit that are, somewhat entertaining if you like investing and corporate power plays, if you will. But certainly trying to turn Bed Bath & Beyond around. When you go into the stock itself, 3 Bs, triple BY. So there you go. You see up the 100%. You kind of have to go to the 5-day look to really see. Here it is trickling along at $17, and yeah, it touched all the way up here to 30, above 34, 34.64 looks like to be the actual high. So buy, sell, or hold here. It's not my stock. I don't think it is the best of breed in the space. I guess you would call it a niche retailer, if you will. I mean, I like the store. I'll shop there, but we can go there to get the stuff we need. But certainly, as far as a stock, I would stay clear of it. So, in conclusion, even with everything that's going on, I would simply say that Bed Bath and Beyond's a sell. If you made gains off of this 100% move, take it and run, and move on to a better name in the retail space.
Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Please submit your questions as a comment through social media or directly to our email at vipservices@ankerstarwealth.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe to get daily updates. That's all we have for today's show. I'm Allison Ankerstar, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.